being here with us, and welcome to beautiful Vulcan, home of the Aggies and the Aggie Ice Cream, which turned to be 100 years old yesterday, over 3 days ago, right? Unfortunately, I had this samples of yesterday, and it was delicious. Thank you. Let us start the meeting with pledge of allegiance, and I'll ask Commissioner Bangerter to lead us.
I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And there's the one item of the housekeeping for those of you that have a lot of affection for cell phones. I would like to introduce you to this concept of two pages. Your cell phones are your pacemakers. Commission have respect one another and enjoy this company without interruption. This could be a priority, and this is beautiful community for all of us to come and enjoy. And thank you for holding such a beautiful sunshine and cool temperature at the same time. I have a special affection for the Aggies, my father-in-law was Aggie, my nephew, my niece were Aggie, and I guess I was born Aggie, but since the name was thinking, my grandma called me Aggie.
Me take you walking over that
I
one.
have with you from sea to sea, so.
I didn't sleep well.
Okay, with that in mind, let us start with the introduction. Oh, I would like to also excuse Commissioner Hoffman, who is on an assignment of sensitive reading. Thank you. Let's start with the introduction of the commission first. Commissioner Hoffman, welcome back, and please introduce yourself and your introduction.
Thank you, and I especially want to welcome you to Region 1. I'm Commissioner Ron Memo, and my area of assignment is Region 1. And we appreciate you coming here and joining us in this beautiful part of the state. Thank you.
Commissioner Jim Adams, represent Region 3, and it's love to be with you. Good to be here.
Commissioner Luke Kramer, Commissioner at Large from downtown Salt Lake, but one grandmother lived 2 blocks away, the other one 4 blocks away. And my father-in-law, Maggie, had his honorary doctorate at age 98 years ago. That's family. But blood runs deep. So thanks so much to Mayor Danes for a wonderful tour yesterday. That was exciting. And congratulations on everything's happening.
I've done a line, Commissioner at Large, Lands and Cedar City.
Commissioner Kevin Pascal, I live in Berlin, I'm a large delegate for the state. It's good to be here in Logan. And I'm grateful for the welcome that we've had. Spent a lot of time over the years in 4-H, Utah State, 2H competition. And it's livestock judging, a few things like that. So it's changed a lot in the last 4 years.
So here.
50 years.
Better looking.
My name is Nadia. I have the privilege of chairing the commission, and I'm from sunny and cool 100 degrees St. George. And then, you know, family, Carlos, would you please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carlos, the Service Executive Director of the Department of Transportation.
Terry Newell, Deputy Director of Planning and Investment. Lisa Wilson, Deputy Director of Engineering and Operations.
We start with Karen.
Heather Barthold, Commission Assistant.
Carrie Ann Noble, Technology and Innovation.
I'm Michael with Communications.
I'm Bob Ellie, I'm STIP Coordinator.
Christopher Chestnut with Region 1 Planning Manager.
Chris Slater, Regional Program Manager.
Rob White, Region 1 Director.
Rick Torgerson, Region 4 Director. Brett Palmer, Region 2 Program Manager. Quick Use Operations Director. And you, Program Development Director.
Sharon Clear, Finance Director.
Skip over those, you know.
Lake Elder, Legislative Affairs and Policy.
Ron Clayton for the Region 3 Director.
Eric Bradland, Region 3 Planning.
Okay, that's it. We do have our federal filing for this.
Yes, Lee, welcome, and thank you for being here. The items that come today. Okay. Recreational existing design share, and then the bridge and one. First. We also recognize our friends from the Senate, from the representatives, from the legislators, so we can have a piece. At this time, we're about to invite Mayor of Names to come and by credentials, welcome us to your community. And your beautiful place.
Thank you. It's very nice to have you here in Logan City and Cache Valley today. We appreciate the way that UDOT moves around the state, so you get a chance to really meet with all of us. We can have discussions about our successes, our challenges, and we appreciate the partnership with you. So thank you very much. Again, you heard a lot from me yesterday, those of you that were here, so I'll just say welcome. Come back again soon, and if there's ever anything we can do to be of service here in Logan, please let me know. Thank you.
So as we thank you. I think we're about to ask also the Cache County Executive Director, David Zucker, before. And present the family.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and pass this over, please. I also wanted to welcome you to our county as county executive. I'm the mayor of the whole county, and we have 140,000 residents here that I represent, and they all really appreciate you being here and your help with our transportation projects. I just passing out a quick list. I was just thinking this morning, maybe I should give you a handout because I wanted to mention a couple projects, and several of these you heard about and saw yesterday. But I just wanted to reiterate them. I wanted to start off, though, most of all, by thanking you so much for your support with our Logan Main Street project. We talked to you last year about that. We asked you for your support, and you gave us a tremendous amount of support. We really, really appreciate that. You saw our traffic out on Main Street yesterday, and that wasn't even rush hour. So thank you so much for your help with that. SR 30, yes.
6 a.m. this morning. It was packed. It's 6. This is a popular place.
Yeah, people like to drive there. SR 30 we drove on yesterday. We also want to thank you for your support on that project. We're widening that. We really would love to figure out a way to widen it to 4 lanes the whole width. It does neck down across the wetland area there, and we would love to figure out a way to fix that and widen it the whole way at some point. US 89 goes up through Logan Canyon. We don't have any cell towers up there right now. There's no fiber optic line. We've been working with UDOT to find a solution to that, to find funding. I just want to make sure that's on your radar too. Once we get that fiber optic line, not only could we have cell towers in the canyon, but we could also have the changeable message signs, the traffic cameras. It would be a great improvement to have that in there. So I want to make sure you're all aware of that need. And then 10th West, we drove on yesterday, that north end. If you notice on our bus tour, it necked down to 2 lanes at the north end. That's another really important project to have that widen the rest of the way. That's SR 252. And then signalized at the north end. We really appreciate the support that we've had from UDOT and working toward a solution there as well. And then SR 101, this is a longer range project. SR 101 goes through Hiram. It's their main street. It kind of zigzags through the area now as a route, and would really love to look at the potential for realigning it, moving just north of the city, just north of JBS, if you know where that is, the meatpacking plant. We're told by those businesses in that area that there are about 500 semi-trucks a day going in and out of that area. And right now they're kind of having to zigzag in and out of towns, Hiram and Nibley. Would love to have a great route, realign that route through there. It's in the second phase of a study right now that we've gotten funding from. Hiram City actually got the most recent round of funding. So thank you for your support on that project as well. And we hope we can find a good solution to that. Western Bypass, we mentioned this just briefly on our tour yesterday as well. We'd like to have another 10th West, something farther west than 10th West, to have an alternate route to go north and south through our valley. And that's a long-term plan that we're working on, and we'd love to have that be a partnership somehow, as 10th West was. And then the last thing, you heard about so many issues Logan City is having with railroad crossings. And unfortunately, this continues to be an issue. I think we had some successful progress, I would say, in the legislative session last year. We made a little bit of progress. We worked together at UDOT and our local agencies here to try to make some progress with the railroad. Unfortunately, we're not where we need to be yet, but I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done working with the railroad and getting them to support our projects. You heard about multiple projects Logan City is trying to do, and your SR 30 project that you're helping us widen has hit some roadblocks as well. That's what we worked on in the legislative session. So that's, I think, one of our biggest challenges for transportation projects, besides the money to build them in the first place. But I appreciate you being here, listening to these concerns. Thank you very much. And if you'd love to talk later about these projects, we'd love to continue the conversations. Thank you and welcome to Cache County.
Yeah. My grandpa used to say some friends come to you by for a reason, some for the season. Some stay long, some stay short. Our next speaker has been good seasonal friend to us, to you guys. Senator, thank you for being our friends for our season. So our next podium is yours.
Appreciate that, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to be hopefully short and sweet. And I appreciate County Executive Zook mentioned a few projects. I just appreciate you being here, be able to talk with many of you, get to know many of you. And I'm just impressed with the commission. And obviously, many of you have been very, very successful in your lives, in your different professions and the things that you're doing. And I appreciate your expertise and your experiences to help the state of Utah. I know UDOT really does set the standard across the country. We are so fortunate for Carlos and Terry and Lisa, able to get to know them a little bit. Very fortunate to be able to be part of the IGG committee. That was a great assignment. Excuse me. I appreciate President Adams putting some confidence in me to help with the IGG, and it's been a pleasure working with Carlos, and I love UDOT and all the things they're doing, and we keep adding to Carlos's and the department to their responsibilities, and of course they keep doing such a great job that they're going to continue to probably get more responsibilities because they do a great job. But thank you for being here. Thank you for help with the many projects. We obviously have a growth issue like Washington County and many other areas across the Utah County. We are one of the fastest growing counties. And one thing I wanted to mention, we were able to be a part of just a tremendous opportunity here in the Valley for another LDS temple in Smithfield. We had a groundbreaking ceremony last Saturday. And boy, that's going to increase the growth in Smithfield and so I think it's 218, some of those areas, going forward. But boy, what a wonderful opportunity for Valley. Who would have thought we had, two temples. So, and I know Casey's hoping for the third one to be in his hometown of Paradise, but that may have to wait a while. So, anyway, thank you very much for being here. It's been a pleasure working with you and wish you the best.
Senator, you mentioned yesterday in our conversation, you're working on your fiber network. Well, it's public service, who services Logan County? What is that? Do you know?
I'm not quite sure which company it is, but I do know that Logan Canyon, I think, is, hoping I'm saying, but #1 on the UDOT list for middle mile, and it's high priority. It's one that we're working on, and being able to be the co-chair of the Broadband Commission, which we formed. We've been working with Lynn and UDOT and also Rebecca Dilge and GoEO. We just formed a commission. We have our first official meeting Monday morning at 8 o'clock. And that is an area we believe we can get funded with either mid-mile or other money coming. We're assured of $100 million coming from the infrastructure bill that Biden signed. That's the minimum, and we're hoping for maybe $400 million if we can to help connect the state of Utah with last mile, those that don't have the service. So a great question, and I'm not quite sure who it is that services Canyon, but obviously it's a high need and something that we need for safety reasons.
I don't know if you can imagine it. You can. Does Rich County have fiber optic?
We do in some places, but I can tell you at my house, we have dial-up.
I'm sorry.
It's very, very painful. We have to have a landline and we don't even get great cell coverage. So there are places in Rich County where there's high need.
Thank you.
Great question. And obviously it's very important for us going forward for us to stay competitive and be able to have rural areas, be able to have access to healthcare and also job opportunities that can open up with the broadband and fiber optics. So thank you very much for being here and looking forward to working with all of you in the future. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. And we'll also give a segue to our next representative, Casey Snyder, who represents the south end of the Happy Valley.
Thank you. Good morning, Representative Casey Snyder. To get here, all of you came through my district. So I represent everything south of Logan, the most beautiful, wonderful, best part of Cache County. So you're welcome for that opportunity to come here by coming through our part of the world. So I really just want to say a couple of things. First and foremost, I want you to know as a commission how grateful I am for the UDOT staff, especially in this area. So we've had hard conversations, we've had good conversations. At the end of the day, we've had great outcomes. And I think it's because of the quality of staff that we have here. I think that they do a remarkable job. And my one request for them and for me and my constituents as we're moving forward is I trust the process. I trust UDOT's process, especially in our valley. And I know you're getting a ton of pressure to do different things in different places, but I believe that the process and the needs that are outlined through existing avenues is the best way we're gonna have the best outcomes in this county. So I want you to know I have full confidence in those that are making the decisions and implementing them. And some of those are based on, again, conversations we've had, and some of them are when we've gone to war, right, Carlos, with the railroad, because they're wonderful people who just love their trains. So anyway, I just, again, want to thank you for that. The one specific item that I may flag for you that is not on your list, it's not a new project. You all have been working on it. It actually, I've been in the legislature 4 years. It was a priority for you and me when I started, and we're still kind of trying to figure it out. It's the light at 89 and 3200 South in Nibley. And this is like, I don't know how to describe this. The mayor of Logan could speak to this probably more than anyone, but if you want to talk about a mess, we have it, and I think it actually has contaminated soils in it as well. So I would love to see a light there if we could, just whatever it takes to wrap that up and make that happen. As you I know are trying, I just want to put a plug in that keep going, don't give up. You have my support. So again, grateful that you would come here and be here, and appreciate all that you've done for our community. Thank you. Yeah.
My little gas station.
Mhm.
Where I come to the manual.
Yeah.
I start thinking it's right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a fun story that we like to keep retelling.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if the commission itself, but the commission is interested, Rob, can maybe speak to the saga. We've got that in our. Maybe not the whole saga. That would be too long, but we're definitely going to bring that.
Yep. Hey, I'm coming to every meeting. I'll have a bigger list next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. I like my calling, I like my company, I like this assignment that I have as a UDOT chair, and just like for the commissions. Except for the moments like this morning. Next speaker, I'm gonna say, I want you to do some sadness to come forward. Which is not a good one for this person. And I'm sure you thought that they're gonna be gone, so there he is, very cool.
It's all Jason's fault. He's sitting in the audience. So thank you for giving me just a minute. You know, I'm announcing my retirement from UDOT. I actually did a couple weeks ago, yes. I always do. Carl sees me about that all the time, so I can't slow down. I thought you already did that. But no, 25 years with UDOT and probably 15 years of coming to the commission. So it's kind of a bittersweet moment for me. I still see Glenn Brown all the time at basketball games and talk to him 3 or 4 times a year. And Bevan Wilson still calls. I don't know if he'll ever, you know, stop acting like a commissioner at times. And Jeff Holt called me for some financial advice the other day. No, I'm just kidding. That guy, I knew you'd call me out on that, Carlos. That guy's way too smart to be calling me that. But it's been an awesome experience, you know, the last 25 years at UDOT. And my wife and family were driving down Phoenix the other day and just kind of noticed all the different projects that have been built. And sorry. I think about the role that I've had on it. And a lot of those jobs I'm proud. I'm very proud. But hopefully I can continue serving a little bit from, you know, the consultant world, and I appreciate the opportunity. But thank you very much. I wasn't going to do that.
Rick, I'd just like to make one comment. 25 years is a long time being with an organization.
Yeah.
And we thank you for that. But in my opinion, knowing you and watching you, you should have spent 25 years. You did your 1 year, 25 times.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, we were doing the St. George for a couple of months ago. You got up and said, I just want to make one announcement. Foreshadow. So I called my broker to loan this up. Thanks for everything. You've been so responsive. We love that part. Stay on. Great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Besides being a Region 4 director that operates at my opinion is really ambitions and dedication, and also sit next to him every month on the DTAC meeting in St. George. And I just look forward to the minute when he walks through that door, because I always say him sitting next to me. He's always smiling, and when he walks in, everybody in that meeting recognizes the respect, love, and appreciation that he does. And he has a visual that, you know, 14 cameras out there, instead of you know, this is a true station. And I'll do it from almost one of the different places in his truck or in my car. He's come to my office sometimes to just for special occasion to tell me about the projects that needs attention and attention. The guy doesn't sleep. Even when he's on vacation, he calls and checks in to make sure that we're doing okay.
My wife's not happy about that part, but
Well, she can have you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And Jason and Corey, I promise you, we have the same kind of feeling about you. We fight our privacy, not in public, so thank you. And thank you. So, thank you.
thank you.
Happy to.
Yep. Appreciate it. She nudged me a couple months ago and said, you got to give me a lot longer notice. And I just winked at her. She was.
Wasn't that time that I knew from the work? What you did when I thought that this was very. You are a terrific leader, and you have built a fantastic team. Been great to delegate and share. You are ever responsive. I still have your phone number. I'll try not to be one of those annoying commissioners. I've been reminded now I can call Jason as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate the service to both those many counties. You never complain about the fact that you have all of these people, all of these constituents in charge of. So well. I'm grateful to know you as a person. I'm grateful for the organization, but I've heard the state.
Yeah.
And I voted no. Okay, told me I was going to Jerry. That, just so you know, you don't for it.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Well, I guess we're gonna go home now.
Well, I think something with that one. We are going to have another terrific director. Right? We've watched this transition. I've had to sacrifice 2 deputies and 3 other directors, switch around, but we always end up doing it. And that comes back to the leadership of our organization. So while we mourn Rick today and we mourn others who've gone through, we also trust that we will have great leaders who will carry us forward and bring additional strengths.
Beauty and the new dance. Work on it. Next item on the agenda is a local area representation by Region 1. And Brett, or you go first one? Okay, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to stand up first of all and just welcome you also to Region 1. You've been welcomed plenty, I know, but I just want to say we've got a great team here. And when I say team, it's not just the UDOT team, but I feel our communities here, the county, the cities, Commissioner Menlove have been great to work with. And in my 2 years up here, we've started to build a good team that works together. We don't always agree on everything, but we have a way to work things out. And I appreciate my UDOT team, and they're going to be presenting today. We're going to have Brett Slater talk about some projects that have been going on and are going on. We'll get an update on that 3200 South signal. And then we'll turn some time over to Christopher Chestnut. He's going to talk about more long range stuff that's coming. But we welcome the commission to Region 1, and I'm just happy to be here.
Just start the slide. Oh, there it is. Okay. Here we go. Okay. It's actually okay. So Brett Slater, I'm Region 1 Program Manager. I actually just have a few slides to go over, and actually I'm going to touch on a couple of points that Mayor Zook asked about and Representative Snyder asked about. So we'll hit both those projects. That's our 30 and 3200 South. When I started this, I got looking at cash value. So I did a kind of a deep dive in the past 10 years. It took a little bit to try to figure out, and I hope I caught everything. Over the last 10 years, we have programmed, or we are either in construction, or let's start at the beginning, scoping, design, construction, or completed over 123 projects over the last 10 years, equating to over $322 million worth of projects up in cash value alone. And then, then breaking that down to what we currently have in design, we currently have 20 projects in Cache Valley or Cache County in design for a program amount of $154 million. So it's kind of cool there. There's actually a lot of work taking place up here right now. So I wanted to focus on 3 projects. And they all have been around for a little while. We've been working on them for quite a while, and they're all fairly unique. Well, a lot of our projects at UDOT are unique. This one is definitely one of those. This was not an easy project. We started designing in late in 2019, working through the environmental, the design phase, and into the right-of-way. There was quite a bit of wetland mitigation that went along with this project. When you deal with the wetlands, there's another added component that adds to the complexity of a project. This one has quite a bit of wetlands along it. We've been working through quite a bit of right-of-way issues
working with some right-of-way issues with partners that we have been really trying to partner with, Rocky Mountain Power in particular, where we did not, we didn't want to condemn, but we were trying to partner through the right-of-way issues with them. We have now come to an agreement that has been signed. We're looking forward to be able to advertise this project. We are actually going to come back to the commission in August. There we have some money deficiencies on this project, so we'll need to come back and we'll be presenting this in August to the commission. Then soon after that, we will advertise the project and begin construction. There is quite a bit of settlement that needs to take place in this project because of the wetlands, the soft soils. There's an 18-month period where we're going to need to put embankment down and just let it settle out. But we're excited to be able to start this project. Yes, the project does not have a full 5-lane section through the entire section of the project. It does have full shoulders, and part of it will have, for the almost the entire stretch, a trail, either a 10-foot or a 12-foot separated grade separated trail as part of this project. We are excited to be at this phase. We're excited to be where we can actually go to advertisement on it and begin construction.
They should change the 5 lanes in the future, or just as a limitation?
There's quite a bit of it's difficult to speak just off the cuff on that. I think yes, at some point, yeah, the road will go to a 5-lane or go to a 4-lane at some point. There is full shoulders out there. There is room that we could do some things. The environmental document, that's what it cleared. And so we are building what was scoped and what was cleared through the environmental process at this time.
So Commissioner sorry. I've still got that on my mind. I apologize. Rob White, Region 1 Director. I'll stand up here for just a second.
So the reason that that's neck down in certain locations is because the Clean Water Act requires that you have a proof of the need for the 5-lane section. And through that section of the marsh, there wasn't the need, but when that need comes, there will be the ability to widen in that section.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next project that was actually asked about was US 91 and 3200 South. We have actually been working on this project for a long time. There has been a number of different designs around this intersection. We've had a number of challenges. We have, what's fun about this project, we have partnered, I think, really well with Logan City, with the county, with Nibley to try to find a good solution. We have, everyone's kind of compromised and moved where that connection would be. So now we are connecting. What we're going to do is we're going to connect 3200 South up with 3000 South at a signalized location. This allows us to avoid some very sensitive properties. But along with this project, we are actually closing. There'll be 3 accesses that get closed. The existing 3200 South will get closed as a cul-de-sac, and there's 2 accesses on that are skewed intersections that are coming at a very sharp angle onto 91. There is we've had a number of crashes and a few fatalities at those locations. So from a safety standpoint, we're very excited to be able to close those accesses down. We have worked with the landowners, everyone around there. We have completed all the appraisals. We have made offers on most of the parcels, and we are trying to acquire them right now. We are looking to be able to wrap up the right-of-way by the end of this year. It is going to take a little bit of time to walk through the entire process. And then, so we will advertise later this year or early January, and we'll construct it in 23. So it will be constructed next year. Any questions about 3200 South?
Clarify the question about the signal, the current situation.
Okay, there is not a signal there right now. And it is an interesting road to get out on. There's a grade, there's kind of a grade separation on 3200 South when you're coming up. There's those 2. Well, then you have just a normal, just an intersection at 3000. So what it's going to be is there'll be a full signalized intersection, which will be 3200 South and 3000 South, where you can see where it's joining right there. That will be a great improvement, a single location where everyone's kind of coming together, and this will help with the east-west movement, combining them together.
Thanks for your attention to that. We get calls on it too. So I appreciate you, Robin, willingness to move forward. We're smiling.
Yes,
We've had
this is a long-term problem. And so the complexity of it is, I mean, I won't go into any detail, but it's a complicated situation where there have been solutions proposed, and anyway, let's just say this is great.
Yeah, we're excited to be at this point, and not getting all the details about it. There's some sensitive right-of-way issues going on right now that we are working through, but where we're at in the process, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
the light is, the last time I took that turn after our meeting, I got pulled over by a UHP too fast, trying to save my life. Just so you know, it's skin to skin. I told him, I just come from a meeting talking about this, and the commissioner goes, well, behave next time.
Good.
But thank you so much. Marlo's got a call.
Okay, the last project I was just going to touch on just briefly is kind of a fun little project. And we actually, on our commission tour, we actually drove right past this location. This is on 91 at 6 South. This is a great project. Logan City kind of spearheaded this as part of their trail system. They were designing and working towards an underpass, and we were fortunate enough last year to be able to program out of the 35 million AT money. We were able to program this project. Logan City, it has a very extensive match on this project, so we're partnered with them on this project. We are currently in the design of it. Like anything, when you're putting a trail right next to the river, right next to our structure, the design, there's going to be some right-of-way issues. There won't be any wetland mitigation on this one, so that's happy, but there is going to be some permitting with the stream as what we're doing. We're looking hopefully to be able to construct most likely next year, but most of it will take place in 24 for this project. But we're excited to be able to further that work, and we're grateful for the partnership with the mayor and the city on this project. Now I'm going to turn the time over to Chris to talk about a few of our planning studies we have in the area.
Hi, Christopher Chestnut, the Region Planning Manager for Region 1. I'm going to start off with the US 8991, this operations analysis that we're going to be starting. You've had a brief history yesterday about some of the issues. You've now also had a great tour of Main Street and 8991. Just to kind of build on what the purpose, I think the number one question I get asked about this project is, what is the purpose of the study? Well, as we completed the last study this year in partnership with the city, that study focused mainly on Logan Main Street. This study, as you can see, expands the extent of that analysis. And now we're looking at everything from where 10th West or SR 252 turns off of 8991 all the way to 2500 North, which is in North Logan. So it's a larger view of the corridor and the context that it's operating in. Some of the issues, just so you're kind of familiar, it's been a lot of discussion in the county and in the region about what to do and how to plan for the future of this corridor. So I think one of the first tasks we're going to do is spend some time getting what we call a durable coalition built around a vision and a plan for the corridor that will last beyond the time that I'm here or a mayor or council is here, so that as we move forward to the corridor and make these improvements, that we're doing it jointly and with the same kind of common vision in mind. So there you go. That kind of does that. The $2 million that's programmed for this will take us through this first piece of the operations analysis, and then as well into a set of environmental documents. That's another important piece of this analysis. As we finished the last one, we didn't have a solid one solution that we thought would work in the corridor. It's probably a mixture of several ideas. So it's more than likely not going to be a single environmental document, but it could end up being multiple environmental documents. So one of the key things that we're looking to come out of this study is a program, an implementation strategy of what those future environmental documents look like that will then guide the actions that we take. So with that, any questions on that so far? Okay. Next one, this is a longer corridor, and we're going to be getting started on this really pretty soon. This is looking at this 89-91 corridor starting at I-15 in Box Elder County, then going all the way through Sardine Canyon, which most of you drove through and have seen that, and then continuing on into Cache Valley. So just a couple things for you to be aware of. There's an existing corridor agreement between UDOT and Cache County that covers that southern end of the corridor in Cache County. One of the clauses that was put in that corridor agreement is to revisit that agreement every 15 years. So it's now been 15 years. So this is an opportunity to revisit that agreement and relook at the access and the intersection locations that are in that corridor. Additionally, we're getting growth pressure in Sardine Canyon with mine operations and other future developments that are trying to come into that Sardine Canyon area. So we're trying to think about what does that future access look like? What do those future plans look like? As well as continuing into Box Elder County, there's the intersection right there at 1100 South and 8991. It's seeing increased traffic as that part of the region continues to grow. So our thought was, let's take a look at this entire corridor. It's been, as far as I can tell, a good 15 to 20 years since we've really looked at this corridor in its entirety. So that's what we're going to do here. It's kind of looking at we're going to take our solutions development approach and do phases 1 and 2 in that, which is putting together a set of goals and objectives that are shared in the corridor, looking at all of the previous plans and context that exist in that corridor, looking at mobility, looking at the economic development opportunities, looking at the natural environment, all of those kinds of things. So with that, any questions on that one? Okay. And then last, this has been talked about. County Executive Zook spoke about this West Cache County corridor. In the Cache MPO Long Range Plan, it has identified a corridor on the west side of the county. It needs some more analysis to kind of firm up that location is one issue, and also to begin to understand what is it that how big does it need to be in a general sense? What are the plans for future development on the west side of the county? And taking all of those things into account and putting together a strategy and a plan and a coalition that kind of is supportive of where that should end up. So there's going to be a lot of work with local governments in the area, understanding their developments and their plans and their growth. So there you go. That's where we're at. Yeah.
Is there considerable traffic on 30 these days?
On 30 or on this one?
30 across from Logan
to Box Elder.
Box Elder.
Yeah, do you want
to? Popular growing route.
It is a growing route, and it's kind of a freight route. It's a quick connection to I-15. If you're headed from Cache Valley north on I-15, this is the connection that folks would take. Box Elder County also is growing, and so you do see a lot of back and forth traffic, and we project, if I remember correctly, 20 to 30,000 vehicles per day on this in 2040. So it is a growing area. We look at Box Elder and that part of Cache as more of a rural area, but it is rapidly developing.
Let's look at my perception as well about the truck traffic too, given that.
I think COVID, there may have been some changes in some of those patterns with people working at home. But there's anticipation that growth in Box Elder County and Cache County will increase that traffic. And everyone knows it's a high priority for me. It has been since my service in the legislature. There's no single issue that I ever dealt with as a member of the legislature that was more important to my constituents than activity. So I really appreciate the staff. They entered a lot of questions for me, and they've been very helpful in educating me about the issues. But this is, and the West Corridor in Cache County, this is a chance to get ahead of something. We're struggling with Logan City and the major thoroughfare there. It's very, very important as a commuter area, and I've driven that road any time of the day. It's an important corridor getting in and out for Rich County as well. That's a major corridor for people from Rich County moving to the state. But the West Corridor is a great opportunity to do something smart ahead of time, so we're not locked into something difficult. So I just want to applaud the work that you guys are doing and their patience and helping me learn and understand the issues. And clarity for people are people from Idaho as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn some time over to Jeff Gilbert. Jeff is the Executive Director of the Cache MPO to take just a few minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners, and welcome again to Cache County. Carlos asked me yesterday if we felt well supported by UDOT, and I have to tell you, we've never felt better supported. Commissioner Menlove is engaged and involved, and we're appreciative of her. I joked with him that I think Christopher attends more meetings in Cache than I do, which is, I attend a lot of meetings, so that says something. So we're grateful for the support, and it's never been better, and we're really grateful. Whoever came up with the idea to have region planners, it's a great idea, and we really appreciate that. It's really allowed us to be engaged. I just wanted to kind of reiterate support for that Western Arterial or the West Corridor. I just got done meeting with all but 2 of the 19 cities in Cache County as part of our long-range plan update. And universally, this came up of when are we going to get this? And so it's good to be able to report that we got some things moving, and we're going to start putting some meat on the bones of what this looks like. I look back at the population growth, and since 1950, 95% of our growth has happened in 10 of the 19 cities between Smithfield and Hiram. So most of that core urban area has accommodated our growth. The cities used to be separated, and over time they've just kind of grown together in that infill. And that's kind of a good thing because it kind of centralizes our growth. It's presented a challenge, though. There's not a lot of UDOT or arterial roads through that area. So our focus has been largely on trying to kind of improve connectivity. Because it's so compact, we know we have some transit opportunities, so we're exploring that as well. About 10 years ago, Corey Pope was involved and Carlos, and we did a jurisdictional trade with 10th West. We, 4 UDOT roads were given to the locals, and then UDOT took on that state route. And that has been that was a monumental success. 7 cities had to be involved in that jurisdictional trade. I kind of joked with Corey that we should put him in charge of the Middle East peace process after he was able to pull that off. But that kind of speaks to that, getting that mobility in urban core. But as we look at population growth, the next 7 decades are not likely to be able to be accommodated in that infill. And so this growth to the west, we're already starting to see it. That's where some growth potential is. We want to do it right. We don't want to encourage sprawl, and we don't want to protect the values that we have in Cache Valley of that open space. So we're trying to do it right. But this has been talked about since the 1970s. I came up with a report in the early 1970s when they were looking at this. At that time, Logan Main Street had 20,000 vehicles on it. They were really worried when it was going to hit 30,000. They thought the the world would end then. And of course, now it's 40,000. They were speculating, they thought maybe when gas hit $1 a gallon, that would change everything and maybe travel demand would go away. But of course it hasn't. So that's kind of what we're looking at, is just in that west side of Cache Valley. How do we plan right, as Commissioner Menlo said, get ahead of it and kind of accommodate that and kind of right size that mobility. So we appreciate your attention and your efforts on helping us, and we're pleased with where this is headed. Thank you.
If I could, for the commission, and I didn't put check box to this, but I just want to connect some dots. Jeff had mentioned, where we're going to region planners. That was a great idea. We've heard a lot about growth, planning in the future. So several years ago, that we, worked with the governor's office, thought this was an area we could do better. Planning in areas where we call them emerging areas. The MPOs do a great job in the MPO area, but we need to do a better job really in those areas, just connecting to the MPOs, know that growth is happening. Because that's really the point at which big decisions can have really long-term impacts. And we as a department didn't have the ability to support the communities for that planning. And so we were able to successfully put the government included this budget. I'm just connecting it back to IGG, where they we get to come and present our building blocks. So this was a building block that was approved by IGG that allowed us to essentially build up our planning staff. It's a matrix organization working with our central planning office and regional office to better coordinate and help support the local governments in that planning. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to be doing better than we've done in the past. I think we've done good, but we can do better. I didn't put Jeff up to this, but Jeff, thank you.
Can I take a quick tech break to fix an issue online? Like 2 seconds.
Welcome to Rulemaking. Enter the meeting pin followed by the pound key.
All right, how about now? Are we echoing? Yes. We're good? Okay.
I apologize. We're ready.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Region One, for the presentation that they have. Wonderful. But for the local leaders, community, commissioners of the county, and all the local leaders we have, Senator Wilson, I'm sure you have already, but this video and presentation is available on the commission website. Encourage you to take a copy of this and share it with your constituents. Your public meetings that we will have. For the 10 years, if you heard from the grant and the rest of them, it's been partial of the project that's been done in this community. A lot of money has been spent in Cache County. So please make advantage of that. Next item on the agenda is the public comments. At this time, we would like to invite the people that they have the opportunity to speak to us yet, come forward and introduce themselves and state the case. Okay.
Ricky Brown, are you still here? Oh, no, stepped out.
Was there a gentleman that was supposed to make comments?
Ricky Brown, he chooses with she does.
Again, if there's anyone from the public who would like to come forward and talk about the concern that they have. This is also people online. Oh, there she is. Okay.
Thank you, Ricky. You slipped out. We want to give you a minute to do the addresses. Thank you.
Yeah, apologies for that. Sure. My name is Ricky Ranko Browning, and I'm president of the Utah Petroleum Association. Mr. Chair and Commission, thank you for hearing me this morning. You're in receipt of our letter earlier this month expressing some new and growing challenges, and we just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Director Braceras, his team at UDOT, and all of you as a commission for hearing some of our concerns and really hoping that we can continue what has been a very productive and proactive discussion about some of the growing challenges along Highway 191 south out of the Uinta Basin that are really critical as the one and only way for us to continue to grow the export market out of the Uinta Basin. So right now, just as a very quick high level, we have increased production of Utah's waxy crude from about 80 to 90,000 barrels a day up to about 110,000 barrels a day, specifically because of the growth of the export market at the U.S. Gulf Coast. All of that product has to be put on trucks and taken down Highway 191 to the Price or Helper area for rail load out. So what we're seeing right now is about 25,000 barrels a day going down the road. In the next 6 months, we expect that to increase to about 50,000 barrels a day and to continue to grow fairly quickly thereafter. What that means in terms of trucks is about 186 trucks going down that road. That's about a truck every 8 minutes. And we're not talking about traditional freight. We're talking about, significantly challenging terrain for double oil trucks moving up and down that canyon and that highway. So we appreciate the opportunity to engage with you on this issue. We know that it's challenging in your long-term planning cycle to include unexpected growth such as this, but we look forward to working together to ensure safety along that route. Thank you.
Thank you for the word. No, I was just saying thanks for the letter that we put together every time because I think it's great, thank you, all for doing your work.
Thank you.
Vicky, you mentioned challenges and you mentioned we don't call them challenges, we call them realized opportunities. So thank you for.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
And I just want to appreciate you coming here and making those comments. The commission did have a conversation about the yesterday on that update. And they're not part of the board project for the commission to consider. And we believe that will be on the commission agenda for August.
Excellent. Thank you. We appreciate that. If there's anything we can do to support with data or information, we stand ready to do so.
We'll see if the commission has any specific questions concerning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Going one, going twice. Thank you. At this time, we're up to the police, we hear from Bridget McNeil.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brigitte Mandel, Deputy Division Administrator with the Federal Highway Administration. Appreciate you having me here today. I do too want to take a minute to congratulate Rick. The division has appreciated working with you and appreciate all you've done to deliver the Federal Aid Highway Program. So thank you, and we wish you well in your next adventure. I have two items to bring forward. The first is the notice of funding opportunity was announced for the Bridge Investment Program. This is a discretionary program of $2.4 billion available this year. It's meant to address the nation's largest bridges and those that are in the poorest condition. There are multi-year grants available for the program, as well as planning grants. And the program is eligible for a number of recipients. So there's a long list there. And as you can see on the slide, there's 3 different dates that applications are due. They begin in July 25th and go till September 8th. The second item is the notice of proposing for the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. This is a announcement to establish the minimum standards for the program, and it is open for a 60-day comment period, and that comment period is running through August 22nd of this year. And then this is a slide you've seen before, but it is the schedule of the continued rollout for funding opportunities. As you can see, there's still a number of programs that are going to be coming out later this summer and opportunities. And if questions, information is being put on our website probably daily. There are frequently asked questions, as well as the different grant opportunities, templates for applying for those grants. So we encourage you to visit the website. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Next, item on the agenda is grants, updates, and then this one as usual basis. Oh, yes.
There's a video. Yeah. Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Ben Hewitt, Program Development Director with UDOT. Thank you, Heather. So this is our grant update. So I'll touch on some of these. We talked in detail yesterday about the bridge program, so I'll spend a little bit of time to recap that. But this sheet shows the kind of our standing list of grants that are in progress, many of which we're just in a waiting to hear pattern on. So some of these at the top, the Accelerated Innovation or AID grant for utility detection, that one has been submitted and waiting to hear. The next one on the list is the RAISE grant, where there's 3 projects that are on our tracking list, one of which is the UDOT project at US 189 University Avenue Viaduct replacement. And then the other 2 in that grant program that we're showing are a UTA West Side Express bus project, and then High Valley Transit has a submittal. I think I mentioned this before, that we have some coordination with UTA related to Mountain View Corridor on that West Side Express. And then the High Valley Transit is a sub-recipient of FTA funds through UDOT. So if that were to be awarded, it would come through, the funding would come through UDOT. So we're showing that on that list, because if the announcement comes out, it'll probably say UDOT on that. And then I do have an update on the multiple scenic byway program grants that we've been showing on this list. These have been on here for a few months, but those have been submitted now. The only thing that I will point out is on the process for this is all these entities submitted a letter of intent initially to get in the queue or for consideration in this grant program. The one change or the one update, the Zion Scenic Byway Committee, they had initially submitted 2 letters of intent to kind of give them the options, but in the end, they chose to submit the corridor management plan update item and then not submit the signage program, which is probably a good strategy, because then I think that having a corridor management plan would then makes it, I think that's a step in future grant applications for stuff like signing. So that's probably a good progression in that program. So there's multiple on this list, and those are all submitted now. And then we talked yesterday about and Brigitte mentioned it, the Bridge Investment Program. So this is complementary to the Bridge Formula Fund program that we've talked about in recent months. The 3 different types of projects: planning, large, and then regular bridge programs. We do have listed here that initial idea pending further evaluation for a planning application, which that's the first one that's due for that I-84 corridor feasibility study for multiple bridges. So we've shown that on the list tentatively, and we'll report back if that changes. But I think that's our leading candidate at this point. And then the other 2 are just under evaluation. I mentioned yesterday they're doing some benefit cost analysis to see which ones might be good candidates for those other 2. And then the last couple items on here are just our placeholders from this previous legislative session for where there's funding appropriated for future grants. So we've got those on the list. As those future grants come out, we'll address those with that set aside match. With that, any questions on the grant update? Yeah. Thank you, and go Aggies.
You can announce it. I'm so excited. Thank you. Lisa Wilson, UDOT Deputy Director for Engineering and Operations. Carmen is at the Asheville Bridge meeting, so we're going to try and not make this a habit of Lisa doing the report. But you'll see now we're up to 748 projects that we've been working on, with 7 currently past due. And as we talked last month, several of these are local governments. They're evaluating estimates and trying to really decide the appropriate advertising timeframes to get the work done. But we're pushing hard to get those advertised and out. A highlight for this month, as the fiscal year is coming to an end, we are on track to meet the advertising on time goal. Our project teams have been working really hard, so congratulations to all of them. This has been an interesting year to be advertising our projects, but they've been doing a great job. Since last meeting, we have advertised 13 projects for a total of $53 million. And you can see on this chart, we are entering, kind of our slower period of advertising, but you can see we're heading into fall, and we have a lot of work planned to go out. So our project teams are still pushing hard on those projects as well.
We currently have 175 active construction projects with almost $700 million of work left to be paid out. So there's a lot of work going on field along with all of the design efforts going on. You can see our contractor payments so far in June. It's at almost 52 million that we've paid out. June's not over and we're entering, our busiest time frame. This chart shows our estimate versus our award amount. On the chart, you can see that we're still doing fairly well. One thing that I would like to give credit to all of our project teams is they're working hard to adjust. We've talked a lot about the pricing issues we've had with inflation and labor and the stuff going on. Most of our projects are still coming in. We're able to award and move on. We've been back to visit with you on several, but I just want to point out that this is still a pretty successful measure and we're working hard to stay on top of those numbers in this changing environment that we have. So that's the report for today. Are there any questions?
Sure, that's awful. Good work. Appreciate that. And Deputy Director Wilson and I were on a panel last week about the point of the mountain. I just appreciate so much your willingness and openness and the image you give to UDOT. We're able to be in public forums and do such a nice job.
Thank you.
Questions, before we go? The two projects this last month, they have inflation factored in for those bids in the community. Yeah.
We hope so.
Those 13 projects, those are projects that were awarded last month. That's last mission. And our project teams try to, contract was bid. And when they're bidding it, they're anticipating what their costs are going to be.
Yes. And
we build a contingency.
Yes. Yeah, our project teams will build in the contingency. They try and base it on the risk of the project, what we think could possibly happen. We've come back to you on some projects in the construction process that we've needed more money on, but most of the time the project teams have done a good job of building that into the estimates.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Troy Peterson, Operations Director at UDOT. Just get over here now for the somber topic of zero fatalities. What did I touch? Okay. Okay, so as you can see on the graph here for our traffic fatalities for the year right now, we're sitting at about 142 fatalities. Reduction goal we'd hope for at this point if we were to reach our goal would be, I shouldn't say our goal. If we were to, for the goal, I'm going to step back here. This orange line is our target for a reduction. We try for that 2.5% reduction on the 3-year average. Right now, that would be 114. If we were to be below that number, would be trending in the right direction. But as you can see here, we're not trending in the correct direction that we'd like to see as it relates to fatalities. Of those 142 fatalities, we've had 57 of those are what we've classified in our vulnerable user group: pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorcyclists. And of those numbers, pedestrians, we had 29 so far, 6 bicyclists, and 22 motorcyclists that have lost their lives on our roadways, which counts for about 40% of our total fatalities to date. I wanted to show another graph on this very item because you can see where we're trending, and you can see that. I just want to show a little different view. This also shows our serious injuries in here as well. This graph shows over the last 9 years, having our fatalities across the bottom here with the serious injuries in that. And you can see that trend. You see it kind of goes up and back down. Hopefully we're on that downward. We make a change here and we start to
trend down. I'd like nothing more to stand up here at a future commission meeting and give a report that things are looking really good. We have no new fatalities report. To date, I haven't had the pleasure of that happening. So one more thing I wanted to step up or show here is our zero fatalities effort as we track the 100 deadliest days. We're now about a quarter of the way through our what we could classify as our 100 deadliest days, and we're sitting at 21 fatalities so far. That's roughly, what are we, 27 days into this. So I'm not saying this is a great indicator or whatnot, but it is less than one per day, which we've seen in the past. We're hoping that continues through the rest of the summer, and we can see some reductions in those numbers. Stepping back here real quick, just kind of look at our serious injuries. You can see that the number that's a lot closer to that reduction that we're looking for in the total in our serious traffic injuries, and that trend is very similar for total crashes within our system. That's all really I have to update today. I just don't want to always, as I end this, I like to remind everyone of the five basic driving behaviors. Remember those: wear a seatbelt, drive alert, drive focused, drive calm, and sober. So, any questions? Perfect.
Are we still doing some random checks about what people are doing now? For a couple other times you talked about the surveys that you watch. I mean, any of us every day, it's kind of highway.
Yeah.
Are we doing anything again?
So last year I did we did a report on that. My understanding is that we are working with our consultant to update those numbers. I don't have those yet, but I will bring those forward once we have the updated report on those checks that we have done. You may remember we show how distracted, what people were looking at, or what we were able to witness through that effort. So. Which one? Okay.
There's an anomaly in 2019, which maybe that was COVID related. We were focused on trying to have the safest days instead of home. Is that by chance in your?
That's something I'm not sure if I remember what that may be. I don't see Rob or Jason might even know. I don't know. How many years ago that was? I can't.
It's almost like, depending on how we frame, like, we don't want to give people permission to have.
Sure. Sure.
And I just wondered if that matched that year.
It's a good question.
I'm not going to speak from on this right now, but it was an attempt to try to have a more positive way of talking about it. You know, going to talk about some kind of flag behaviors, talking about the flag things you shouldn't do, essentially counting the behaviors. It didn't, I don't, we have our communications folks. Elizabeth's team works with Troy,
Robert Miles. Yeah.
Look at that and our parts. I don't think it resonated as well.
Interesting. It's just interesting to look at that anomaly. Anomaly. Wasn't, that was the year that people were driving less.
That would have
But
been.
that's impacted that.
That's one of the vexing things that's happened in the last certain. We actually saw the change, the inflection point, downward trend in fatalities sort of increased fatalities. But we saw when COVID happened, and there was actually less traffic.
Thank you for taking that.
And that was one of our overall years. When you look at this other graph for in 2019, 248 was one of our lower numbers over the last 9 years for fatalities overall. So that correlates with that same year. I don't know. Thank you.
Next, the agenda is consent agenda and program development, and Rob Kelly is
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Chairman. We're going to, I'm subbing in for Ivan today. He was scheduled off anyway, so this was going to happen no matter what. So thank you so much for having me. First item up is our item number 7, our consent agenda. Just down. Thank you. Relax mouse. Okay, so included in this consent agenda packet are the minutes for the May 26th, 2022 Utah Transportation Commission meeting and May 26th area tour, as well as a list of projects that are returning funds. The projects included in the exhibit have either been awarded or have identified budget amounts that can be recovered or are in closeout process and have funding available to remove and reprogram. So as I pan down here, first item is our minutes from the Heber meeting, May 26th. Not to make people dizzy in the audience and slow down just a touch. And Heather did these minutes. It's amazing. It would take me months to type this up, and she just can type it up in no time. So lots of items. Okay. And then this next item are the tour. So this is the tour that we had after last meetings. And then at the bottom is we have 3 projects that are returning funds. One's a budget recovery and 2 are budget closeout funds. 3 of them for a total of just a little over $3.2 million being returned. So with that, the motion will be motion to approve the adjustments to the projects in the included table and approve the May 26th, 2022 Commission Area Tour minutes and the May 26th, 2022 Utah Transportation meeting minutes as detailed.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions, corrections? Saying none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Do I have to just go across the bottom on those?
No, you're good. It's on this.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Next item is 8A-1. This is the Bangerter Highway at 9800 South and 4700 South, addition of funds. The scope of the Bangerter Highway at 9800 South and 4700 South project is to grade separate the interchanges to full interchanges. The environmental phase of the project was recently completed, with estimates being updated to account for market changes as well as refinements of the configuration of the interchange. The original estimates were done in 2019 and relied on numbers from the then current construction cost of Bangerter Highway. Construction right-of-way and PECE costs have all increased dramatically since the last Bangerter project. Further, the project team has worked with the local communities at 9800 South and determined taking Bangerter under the cross street is the right thing for the community, which increases utility relocation costs. The site conditions of the 4700 South may inhibit the ability to take Bangerter under 4700 South. UDOT intends on using progressive design build on that interchange so a contractor can be part of the design and ensure the right configuration is achieved. To construct the interchanges under the current economic environment and the current configuration, additional funds are needed for this project. we'll go back up here, that the request, this project is currently funded a little over 159 million. Additional funds requested is 147.6 million for a new proposed project value of just a little over 307 million. So today there's an exhibit here that shows the recommended design change for each of these, 4700 South and 9800 South. Request for additional funds. Map of where they are along Bangerter Highway. So today the motion is to add funds to the Bangerter Highway at 9800 South and 4700 South project as detailed.
Sure. Thank you. After I've heard this thing, I think this is the third time in work for me. I think now I understand why we're doing it, what's caused it. It's unfortunate, but that's what inflation is. So with that information and also put out there, just really stopping any other project and just do business in these times without a
Second, that should probably see what you call it. I think we're getting a lot of bang for our buck, by the way. Everything's growing and it's absolutely been very helpful so far. So keep up the.
I would be willing this week to complete this to a full three-way type of situation. And help us on our other, very good, thank you.
So with that, any other questions, comments, concerns? Being none, all in favor of this project, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A dash.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, 8A-2. This is also a Bangerter Highway at 13400 South. A request to add funds. The scope of Bangerter Highway at 13400 South is to grade separate the interchange to a full interchange. The environmental phase of this project was recently completed with estimates being updated to account for market changes as well as refinements to the configuration of the interchange. The original estimates were done in 2019 and relied on numbers from the then current construction cost of Bangerter Highway. Construction right-of-way and PECE costs have all increased dramatically since the last Bangerter project. Further, the project team has worked with the local communities and determined taking Bangerter under the cross street is the right thing for the community, which increases utility relocation costs. To construct the interchange under the current economic environment and current configuration, additional funds are needed for this project. We'll rotate this down. A summary of costs. Additional funds needed is 46 million for this project. Map of the location area on Bangerter Highway. And the motion to add, and the request is motion to add funds to the Bangerter Highway at 13400 South project as detailed.
Thank you for that question, Carlos.
Well, the commission, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'll hand this one. Thank you. So the commission is responsible for selecting the projects and funding the scope. So you're responsible for the scope of the amount of money project.
the department has responsibility to make sure that we're monitoring without money that's coming in. So we're dealing with funds that are ongoing money, and we're also dealing with one-time funds. As appropriate. We're also through intent language, the legislature recognizes when they appropriate, they are taking their best guess at how much money is going to be generated through the various sources that, this is primarily funded through the Transportation Investment Fund, which is general fund. So 20.68% of the sales tax is allocated to the Transportation Investment Fund. So if that's a guess of how much that 68% will generate. But they also say, your intent language, you can spend what comes in, but you can't spend what doesn't. And so other state agencies don't have that, I'll say, responsibility. They get an appropriation. They can spend that appropriation. We are constantly watching, and Sharon Hillary, right over here, our chief financial officer, is constantly watching the receipts that are coming in from the tax commission. And basically Terry is the gatekeeper for, projects getting advertised, and then Lisa starts spending money. She talks about how much money she can spend. But once the projects get to awarded construction, it's very, very hard and expensive to slow down or stop or stop. So what we do is prior to going to construction, we're constantly working with the region, the project managers. How much money will your project need in which year? And so we're managing that on a constant basis. We're watching the inflow of money, and we are metering the projects as they go to advertising. Make sure, because there's no get out of free jail card. When you look at the type of budget that we're managing, we have to make sure we have a balance. So that's, the question we're always watching is, we have adequate balance to address the risks associated with changes in the inflow of money. So to date, we have not had to slow down projects. And that has been the case in the past. We have had to do that multiple times. We've done it in the late 90s, we've done it in the early 2000s, we've done it in the mid 2000s. And that's basically the responsibility that the legislature and the governor's office puts on our organization to make sure that you guys can pick the projects, and we're not going to get ourselves in trouble.
You do a good job, and then a philosophical or critical question saying, at what point is we're approving this one?
It's a great question, and it is probably the most, well, there's a lot of things that make me nervous, but it's one of the things that we are constantly on edge about, constantly refining our systems and our knowledge. I know we drive the regions crazy in asking for those updates. And, I think it's in human nature, or project manager's nature, to want to think that they want as much money as they can want, but we're always squeezing. Project managers tend to be aggressive in taking how fast their project is spent. And we've been a little bit, lucky on that. That's a human factor, safety factor that we have taken advantage of. But it's a very much coordinated effort between our central office and regional offices. That expenditures.
Thank you for letting me ask that question.
I just add that I don't think luck has as much to do with this excellent management, and that my interaction with the legislature certainly shows the respect and credibility that has by the excellent management in the past. So it's just exciting to see that kind of talent. I hark back to my days, the Arizona Highway Department. This is not the Arizona Highway Department. This is done back then. Not that I don't know Arizona, it's a long time ago, but
We're not speaking to your time frame. What that might also reference, but all DOTs have become much more sophisticated. And it used to be you have a big lump of money and you just kind of sit on some money for long periods of time. We want to make sure that the public's money is put to work as soon as possible. And we can be much more effective if we manage this through a cash flow process. It does create a little more challenges in doing so. But every DOT in the country has become much more of a It's a financial machine, a business operation, not just an engineering operation. It was 50 years ago, this month. I'm that old and they were that young. Thank you, Dave, for the credibility. I just think here again, it's the Utah system. This is not just Utah, this commission, it's the legislature, it's the governor's office, it's the tax commission. When you sit down and think that this budget is prepared 18 to 24 months in advance of even beginning to get the money, we have good numbers coming in to make those decisions. Once in a while, we get surprised. Most of the time, the numbers that are generated, we work with them very active, very prompt, very right on target, and it allows us to continue to do things in resolution. Once I found that in a resolution, I remember back when we had solution projects because the decisions made by the legislature that was going to keep education home, keep them at least like they had in the resource project to be able to meet them. I think that's just an indication of how well we're operating. You know, so yeah, a couple things on that. Commissioner Ben's asked one. You know, again, Utah is the consensus revenue process that comes up. You know, you don't see in other states where the governor's office is working in partnership with the legislature to come up with an agreement on how to anticipate. And I think that truly is unique in Utah. And the other thing that though is as part of the funding increases that have come to the department, legislative leadership has often referred to transportation as the transportation rainy day fund. And so it is, I think, a former representative Ben has heard that term before, but it really references to the fact that the legislature needs to pull back money. We are expected to have the ability to turn the dial and to slow down those projects so that they have that flexibility. And if they didn't have that flexibility, they might not be so willing to allocate as much money. So.
With that detailed explanation, all in favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 8A- is approved.
Thank you. Next item, 8A-3, this is SR 209, that's 90th South Redwood Road to State Street. The scope of the SR 209 90th South Redwood Road to State Street project is to add an additional lane on SR 209 from Redwood Road to 700 West in both directions of travel. Reconstruct the existing roadway from Redwood Road to 700 West. Perform a 1-inch mill. Replace one with a 1-inch open graded surface course from 700 West to State Street and replace the bridge over the Jordan River. Additionally, add a bike lanes from Redwood Road to the Jordan River Trail. The intersection at 700 West continues to experience significant delays from increased traffic demands as a result of development in the area. Region 2 would like to add a dual left turn lane from 700 West in the southbound to eastbound direction to help address the intersection delays. At the conclusion of this project, Sandy City is planning to widen 700 West to the north to also address the increase in traffic demands. Funding request includes $10 million for increased costs due to recent material inflation on the roadway and structural items, $4 million to add the dual left lanes at 700 West. Additionally requires relocation of large electrical transmission lines and $1 million in fuel and oil escalation contingency. Here's a map of the location. And just a reminder, the request is to add $15 million to this project. The request is motion to add funds to the SR 209, that's 90th South Redwood Road to State Street project as detailed.
Second. Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 8A-3 is approved.
Thank you. Next item is 8A-4. This is I-15, I-80, SR-201 junction, paint steel bridges, and the request is to abandon the project, affectionately known as the Spaghetti Bowl. This project was initially created to address the existing paint system on a number of bridges between I-15, I-80, and SR-201. A paint system is used to protect the bridge's steel girders from corrosion. Based on recent published national research, there are new recommendations for the most effective timing of and type of repairs for this paint system. As a result, the work on the paint systems for these bridges will be moved to a future year to take advantage of maximizing the service life of both the existing and future protective paint systems. The Structures Division is currently evaluating other higher priority preservation projects that can take advantage of these funds in 2023. Move down. There's the location of the bridges. Photograph of those bridges. Condition of the girders. The request is a motion to approve abandoning the I-15, I-80, SR-201 junction paint steel bridges project as detailed.
This is yet another example of doing the right thing for the right reason, at the right time, and doing it to something.
There's a motion of the second. This meeting of consent was previously done. Will you please raise? Seeing none, all in favor of this project, abandoning this project, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 8A-4 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is 8A-5. This is 2500 west from 1500 north to 2500 north in Vernal. This is a funding and scope addition. Currently funded at a little over 1.7 million. The request is to add 700,000 of local government funds. This project will reconstruct 2500 west in Vernal while widening the roadway and adding shoulders to improve safety, drainage, signage, and side slopes. During the design process, Mazer Water requested to replace an old water line in this section of roadway to reduce future impacts. The cost to replace the water line is $700,000 and will be paid by the Uinta Transportation Special Service District and Mazer Water. On the map is the location. And the request is a motion to add funding and scope to the 2500 west, 1500 north to 2500 north Vernal project to the current step as detailed.
There's no comment from committees.
Mr. Chair, first of all, I'll be very bluntly because this is main access to my house. This is part of a bigger, larger project that's going from Fifth North clear up to top Diamond or Taylor Mountain. So it makes sense to replace that line. So with that conflict, I'll go with it.
Second.
Any other questions on this project? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 8A-5 is approved.
Thank you. Next item, 8A-6. This is the Vineyard pedestrian structure over a Vineyard connector. It's a funding addition request. This project is currently funded $1 million of TIF money. The request is to add a little over $10 million to this project. This project will build a pedestrian structure over the Vineyard Connector section that is currently in design. The project is currently funded with $1 million of TIF, House Bill 433 funds. The initial funding was to provide a simple grade separated crossing. Vineyard's vision for the area includes a promenade to connect the new UTA front rudder station to Utah Lake. The funding is not sufficient to provide a 100-foot wide structure that is required to meet Vineyard's plan. Vineyard has signed a betterment agreement to provide $4,028,000 to help fund the structure. UDOT proposes to fund the additional $6 million of TIF funds to complete the funding for the project. Move down. Here's location on the map. Reminder. Oh, and this is an exhibit from Vineyard approving what they want to do. And the motion, requested motion to add funding to the Vineyard pedestrian structure over Vineyard Connector project to the current STIP as detailed.
Is this a thing on Utah?
What was?
Awesome.
Promenade, I think, is an area where people gather to have exhibits and shows and things like that. I believe that's what that promenade.
They're all the way down the lake, so it goes through that front. Wide swap.
And Vineyard, Vineyard's contributing 4.6 million, am I reading that right?
Vineyard, yeah, they're at,
Yes, sorry. If you recall, I think it was October last year, we were in Bangerter, and this was they discussed this concept. This was their big.
Any other questions? Concerns? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 8A-6 is approved.
thank you. Our next item is 8A-7. This is Geneva Road, railroad structure, MSE wall repair. So this is a new project, transportation solution project in Region 3 for $700,000. On June 13th, 2020, the Northwest Mechanically Stabilized Earth, MSE wall, of the railroad structure on Geneva Road in Orem Vineyard was observed to have a section leaning outward. On June 14th, it was observed that a section of the wall had fallen and a corresponding amount of soil behind the face of the wall had fallen with it. Since that time, UDOT Structures and Geotechnical Division have visited the site to assess the damage and determine a repair. The estimated cost to repair the wall is $700,000. UDOT Region 3 proposes to fund the project with Transportation Solutions funds to complete this repair. Let me go to the picture, which is 1,000 words. Notice the section that had fallen off and the corresponding dirt that had come out. So the request is a motion to add the Geneva Road railroad structure MSE wall repair project to the current STIP as detailed.
This is a structure that goes over.
Yeah. Okay.
I wanted to make sure that I understood.
Yeah, I raced by the map there. You can see that the railroad is underneath this structure here.
I would approve of that after the second. I put out there, people monitoring, once of regular homes, what's the ding, I looked at my thought, forgot to style. That a drain going on, well, why do we have that missing panel? And that, I realized, everything did to fix the next fallen how it's supposed to be. I just happened to look up and, why is that hole there inside of that wall? So I guess what happens is the dirt's going down, and now don't dirt up under the sidewalk, it goes along the bridge, and they didn't fix fixed because of all the dirt. They don't know if it was loose. They got to partially fix it to look and figure out how do we make sure none of this happened anywhere else.
So were you want to record it?
No, I just saw it. I thought, why don't we have the drain?
Taking credit.
Why do we have the drain hole on the side of that wall? I realized it was a drain hole that didn't be.
That's common, right? Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to assure you, Commissioner, that in the MSE wall, the panels are not the structural elements. The structural elements are actually, depending on the manufacturer of the wall, are mats that go back. You know, typically, just visualize it. See the height of the wall, the mats go back about 7/10 the height of the wall. And they build it in big, layers, and so maybe 3 feet, and then the mat will go back, packed it. And then the fascia, the panels tend to be to try to contain some of that looser material, but it's an aesthetic treatment. So the wall is structurally sound, but that's my message. This is not good.
It's actually got one of those similar on I-15, got new over where the road's going up over, you see we're building these same kind of panels there, just before farming, or the one right there as well.
And a lot of times you'll see construction and you'll see it just this wire mesh face, and we'll let it sit for quite a while. And what we're doing is we're letting the settlement, that hole will be made and settle, and then we'll paint panels so that they kind of line up much truer. So, yeah, this is not supposed to happen.
So it's unusual.
My technical question is, did you catch the vote? Any question? All in favor of this project, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item 8, that's 7 is approved.
Thank you. The next item, this is 8A-8. This is the State Park Access Projects List. This is a new projects list. And the background on this is from the 2022 Utah General Legislative Session House Bill 409, including the following language at item 166 to the Utah Transportation Investment Fund Capacity Program from the General Fund Restricted Outdoor Adventure Infrastructure Restricted Account one time schedule of programs. So the TIF fund capacity program for $16.2 million. The legislature intends the Department of Transportation to use the money appropriated under this item for paved pedestrian or paved non-motorized transportation facilities and access to state parks from state highways consistent with the purposes permitted under Title 51, Chapter 9, Part 9, Outdoor Adventure Infrastructure Restricted Account enacted by this bill. The appropriation is non-lapsing. So from the 2022 Utah General Legislative Session House Bill 3 included the following language, item 166, to transportation, the Transportation Investment Fund Capacity Program of the $16.2 million provided by Recreational Infrastructure Amendments, House Bill 409. Item 3, the legislature intends $10 million to be used for paved pedestrian or paved non-motorized transportation projects contingent on the political subdivision of which a project is located, contributing equal or greater than 20% of the cost for the construction, reconstruction, or renovation of the paved pedestrian or non-paved non-motorized transportation project. The remaining $6.2 million of funds is proposed to be used on the following project list. The department has coordinated with the Utah Division of State Parks and determined that the following list, the unprogrammed value, is still being discussed, and it is expected that the final project will be presented in August. So this is the 3 projects: the Rockport State Park acceleration deceleration lanes at the state park entrance for $1.5 million, Quail Creek State Park right turn lane and acceleration lane for $1.5 million, and the Snow Canyon State Park acceleration lane near, acceleration lane near White Rocks Trail for 1.5 million for a total of 4.5 million. So the request is a motion to approve the state park access project list as detailed.
It's in the small cabin, but it's all push.
Second. There's a motion with second, any other questions? Consider, comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 8A-8 is approved.
Thank you. Okay, these next few items are information only. So 8A-9, this is 1300 East Waynesboro Tenashi Lane in Draper. And the request was to add funds. Project is currently funded a little over 4.3 million, and the request was to add $1 million. The scope of the 1300 East Waynesboro Tenashi Lane in Draper project is to widen the road from 2 lanes to 3 lanes, install curb and gutter with sidewalk, construct a 2-inch mill and overlay on existing asphalt, and construct a high T raised median at Highland Drive. So recently bids were opened, with the low bid coming in 34% over the engineer's estimate. The main items that came in high include mobilization, roadway excavation, and various concrete items. Draper City would like to award the project so construction can begin this summer. The city is committed to adding the entire shortfall of the $1 million. This TIP amendment was approved by the Transportation Coordinating Committee meeting of Wasatch Front Regional Council on June 16th, 2022. And as I stated before, here's the location on the map. This was for information only, but also included is a email from Draper City saying that they will commit to the $1 million for this project.
Would you want a definition for IT, just basis, you can tell me.
I can.
Yeah. Yeah. The next item, 8A-10, is also informational item. This is I-80 at 1000 West. So a structure repair, new project for $170,000. The scope of the I-80 westbound at 1000 West project is to remove the asphalt over the concrete bridge deck and replace it with new asphalt. The existing asphalt is stripping away and causing potholes, creating an unsafe driving condition. Slide down the map of the area. And then of course, this is again is the spaghetti bowl for reference. And this is pictures of the stripping away of the asphalt on the structure.
Right. That I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll venture, it's in about the 10-year time frame on these. We have a bunch of structures in the Region 2 area with the same issue happening. So, talking with Lisa, maybe we're going to comment on the sun, maybe a kind of home brand. Because I mean, this asphalt here helps us seal the decks. But obviously not doing that, but it's becoming focused. You're going to see.
As you can see, this is information only previously approved by the Deputy Director as allowed by UDOT's policy UTC 01-01 for projects less than $250,000. The next item is 8A-11. This is multiple interchanges on Bangerter, combining projects. Two of these items were the first two items today. With all three Bangerter projects, 4 interchanges in total scheduled for construction at the same time with similar scopes, UDOT requests combining the projects into PIN 16382. This will allow efficiencies in the procurement phase of the project while providing flexibility on how contractors will be procured for each location. The project will also be renamed to multiple interchanges on Bangerter Highway. This project combination is contingent, was contingent on the approval of the funding additions for PINs 16382 and 16383 as previously presented. So again, these three all on Bangerter Highway, 4 projects all on Bangerter Highway, and it was for information only. Next item is 8-B. This is the draft 2023-2024 Rural Public Transit Program for approval. Each year, the UDOT Rural Transit Public Transit Division requests the statewide Rural Public Transit Program presents to the Commission for approval and inclusion into the draft STIP. The statewide Rural Public Transit Program is a planning level summary of the projects and cost estimates. The Rural Public Transit Program is presented for review in May, was in May, and approval in June. The funding listed is not guaranteed until federal grants are issued. So the motion today is approval to add the draft 2023-2024 Rural Public Transit Program into the draft 2023 through 2028 STIP. And just for a reminder, this was brought last month. These 2 years of programming amounts for these agencies for 2023 and 2024.
The motion is second. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 8-B is approved. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is there's been a request to modify this request. So instead of including in the 2023-2028 draft STIP, the request will be to approve the ACIP. It's already been submitted to FAA. They have it, and we need their approval so that they can start approving the funding. So when we get to the motion, I'll make that change. Each year, the Division of Aeronautics presents a 5-year statewide airport capital improvement program to the Commission for approval and inclusion. The ACIP is a planning level summary of projects and cost estimates for both the FAA and the state-funded projects in the statewide airport system. The ACIP is was presented in May and approval in this month in June. Funding for the projects listed in the ACIP is not guaranteed until federal and state grants are issued. There is a note. There was one change from the May list. This project, the Hurricane Airfield Lighting Vault Construction Project, the request is removal of this project from the list. So the motion is to approve the 2023-2027 Utah Airport Capital Improvement Program as detailed.
Any other questions? I said, Jared is here if you want to question.
He's itching to answer questions.
itching to tell us.
We were itching to tell how much we like the Provo City Airport.
You like the new Provo City Airport improvements?
We gotta work on parking and that.
We'll get there. We're really good at air transportation. Surface, we. But if you have any questions on the project that was removed, I'd be happy to answer. The Hurricane City Council did vote 3-2 to pull that project after you had reviewed this last month. There's been some back and forth on that since I got here 5 years ago. So I'm happy to answer any questions on it.
Any reason for this?
Well, I'll give you a little context. There's a bluff or cliff just to the east of the runway, and the project was to light the runway. Now, the FAA Airports District Office has been back and forth with the city of Hurricane on this of light it, don't light it, light it, don't light it. If you light it, then people are going to fly in at night, and if they take off to the south and turn left, they're flying right into that cliff. And the FAA said that's a safety hazard. So they required them not only to light the runway, but also to light the cliff. Well, Hurricane has a dark skies ordinance, which I, as an amateur astronomer, I wholeheartedly support. And they said, well, we don't want to light the cliff as well. So at kind of the last minute, they pulled the project. And just for information, we will also be pulling the taxiway project that went along with the runway project, but that's in another year. We also have to go back, and the FAA and the state have to go get funds back from the city of Hurricane because we did pay for the design project. We are not doing the construction project, so they have to pay us back that money. So just so you're fully informed on that situation. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But probably not till next year. 46 in the state. So 46 public use airports, over 90 backcountry airstrips, 2 on Fremont Island that the state was donated the entire island, and we signed an MOU with DNR to manage those 2 airstrips directly. But 46 airports, 90 backcountry airstrips, 2,417 aircraft. And a partridge in a pear tree. Thank you much.
Go far.
I don't want to go far.
So the motion is to approve adding the motion is to approve the 2023-2027 Utah Airport Capital Improvement Program as detailed.
Any other questions? Anyone? All of them say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 8C is approved.
Thank you. All right, the next item. I'll shoot through these. This is a list of acronyms that aviation acronyms.
I love the EAs. You got to remember.
And since you have these, next time you talk to Jared, he's just going to talk in acronyms to you. All right. And then list, get through the list of projects. All right. The next item is 8C-1. This is recommendations from associations representing Utah airport operators and pilots. This item fulfills a new commission duty added by Senate Bill 166, see lines 109 through 111. The bill states the following: one or more associations representing airport operators or pilots in the state shall annually report to the commission recommended airport improvement projects and other information related to the association's expertise and relevant to the commission's duties. So today, Dave Hammond, president of the Utah General Aviation Association. Heyman, sorry.
phonetically. No problem. That's fine. Is here to visit with you.
Thank you. As was stated, the Utah legislature in Senate Bill 166 gave us the opportunity to address you folks. And I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dave Haymond. I am the president of the Utah General Aviation Association, but today I'm here representing the Utah Aviation Coalition. Utah Aviation Coalition represents probably the vast majority of all of the users of our airport system in the state. And hold my a piece of paper showing you who Utah Aviation Coalition. There are 8 of us. We represent general aviation, aviation education, business, aviation, and so forth in the state. So we have been working with the department or the Division of Aeronautics for several years, and we pressed the legislature to give us the opportunity to do it in an official capacity, and so that's what Senate Bill 166 did. In addition to that, Senate Bill 166 created an aircraft restricted account. In the past, the state-owned aircraft were operated using funds from the Aeronautics Restricted Account. The Aeronautics Restricted Account has funds placed in it from our aircraft registration fees and the fuel taxes that we pay the users of the system. That goes into the Aeronautics Restricted Account. And we've been pressing the legislature to make a change to this for quite some time. The monies that the users are putting in there were funding the state aircraft, and we thought that that was probably not a proper use of the money we put in to maintain our public use airports. So this year, the legislature created the aircraft restricted account, and monies for that will come from fees the Division of Aeronautics receives for the use of state-owned aircraft, appropriations by the legislature, contributions to the account, and interest on the money earned in that account. And the way the legislation read is over a period of about 5 years on a formula will reduce the amount of monies that go from the aeronautics restricted account towards the operation of state-owned aircraft, and the aircraft restricted account at the same time will come up in funding, and at the end of this process, the state aircraft will be on their own and weaned off of the aeronautics restricted account, which will give us more money in the aeronautics restricted account for the maintenance of our public use airports, which is an increase in safety and the other things that this fund was created for. I wanted to comment on, there are 7 items in the budget that you just passed, and we appreciate that, that are non-construction items, and I wanted to address those. These programs that the Utah Aviation Coalition, in conjunction with the Division of Aeronautics, has been trying to implement over the past years are now in this current ACIP. And I would like to review those with you. The first one is the Grant Management Program. This is a software program that will allow the Division of Aeronautics to more effectively manage the funds, the grants that come from the federal government and come into our state use airports. Before, it's been kind of a hit and miss deal, and when we're moving forward with getting a software program that will allow us to do a more efficient job in our aviation grants. We also have a pavement management program. As UDOT knows, when you plan on replacing pavement on a road on a regular basis, you can stay ahead of the game rather than always be behind the 8 ball. And this program will allow us to look at the pavement on the runways and taxiways of our public use airports and have a planned replacement so that we can feed money into those things as we know the failures will be coming rather than address them after the failures come. We have an airports revitalization program. This gives us about $100,000 a year that we can give grants out of the aeronautics restricted account to various different public use airports in the state for improvement projects that they can't afford on their own. A lot of these public use airports that we have are maintained by very small rural communities, and they just don't have the tax base to do the things that they would like to do at their airports. And so this gives us the opportunity to participate in those things and keep some of our public use airports that are in the rural areas better maintained and with a better face on them. We also have a program for education grants. This education grants is money coming out of the restricted fund that goes to high schools and colleges and universities that have aviation programs, and it will help these aviation programs to better their programs and increase the participation in aviation moving forward from young people that are looking to get into aviation as a career. We think this is a very worthy project. This year, the first time, the state of Utah Division of Aeronautics hosted an aviation conference. We did that about a month and a half ago in Provo, and we had over 500 attendees, and it was a very well attended and conference, and we were very pleased with the outcome. The Utah Aviation Coalition worked with the Division of Aeronautics over the past year to plan that conference and to put it together, and we were very pleased. This next year, we're looking to do another aviation conference in Logan, and we're already starting to work on that. And so we feel like this aviation conference is a very good expenditure of our aviation funds in promoting aviation in the state of Utah. Item number 6 is the airport systems monitoring. This is a program called VirTower, or Virtual Tower. In an airport, we like to monitor the operations. An operation in an airport is either a takeoff or a landing, and they're not the same thing. You can take off and fly to another state and not come back and land at that airport. So every operation is, a takeoff or landing or separate operations. And this VirTower will allow us to monitor the use of our public use airports and allow us to better distribute the funds for maintenance going forward. The division is going to purchase this, and it's going to provide it to our public use airports that are non-commercial, and as a service to our non-commercial airports. Those airports in the state that will get it, that are commercial operations, will reimburse the division for the cost of this program. And so as aviation increases in our state over the years, we feel like this is a very good program to implement. And the last program is a pavement condition index. And this will be a program where a private agency using drones will fly our public use airports to keep track of the condition of the pavement so that we can stay on top of that. So I wanted to review these non-construction items, and we anticipate that moving forward, these programs will remain in the ACIP. The Utah Aviation Coalition is in full support of these budget items and feel that these programs will improve the management and maintenance of our public use airports, as well as increase interest and participation in aviation throughout the state. The Utah Aviation Coalition has been working closely with the Utah Department of Aeronautics, or Division of Aeronautics, I should say, for several years in reviewing and preparing the ACIP plan, and we appreciate the opportunity to now address the Transportation Commission officially. We feel that the transparency of the Division of Aeronautics and its interest in including the users of the aviation system in the state is a great way to ensure that public monies are used wisely and effectively. And that is my presentation, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the fact that you've approved our ACIP, and I look forward to either myself or somebody else addressing you next year. Thank you.
Dave, just two quick questions.
Yes.
So when you say state aircraft, you don't mean that owned by the state?
That is exactly what I mean.
Oh, you do mean
That, yeah, the state has some aircraft. We currently have 3. Pardon? 3 fixed wing aircraft. We're not talking about the UHP helicopters or Natural Resources has an airplane they use to stock fish and things. But these are the aircraft that the Division of Aeronautics maintains and flies. And so if, for instance, Mr. Becerras wants to fly down to Moab.
The report is on what Senate Bill 166 did. He's just reporting on what they did. They created a new account, a new restricted account. Nothing else has changed with aircraft. It's just Senate Bill 166 created a new account to help protect the aeronautics account.
Correct.
So when Commissioner Kramer, when you ask about aircraft, we're reporting on the account, not the actual thing that flies.
Right.
Second quick question.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Unmanned systems device, is that the drones? Item 7 on here.
Yeah, unmanned system is drone. Drone usage is becoming quite popular and will increase in the future. And so we need to include those people in aviation because they do use the airspace and they do have an interest. And so, like for instance, our program for our PCI data collection will be done with drones. And it's a great way to save labor, getting people on the ground, moving all throughout the state. We can get a drone to do these inspections for the pavement data. So that's what that is. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
All right, just a couple more items left. Next item is 8D. This is for review only. So this is from the Recreational Trails Program. And I think if you guys have questions, representative from the Department of Natural Resources, Patrick Morrison, is online, I think. Oh, he'll comment in the chat. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone can hear me, but I'm here.
Okay, we can hear you. Okay, thank you.
Fantastic.
All right, so let me go ahead and read our fact sheet here. The Federal Recreation Trails Program was authorized by Congress in 1991 as part of the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act of 1991. This act established the Recreational Trails Program funding and Federal Recreational Trails Trust Fund. The RTP grants are available for non-motorized and motorized trail projects. This program was continued through the current authorization. These projects are selected and administered through the Utah State Parks and Recreation Division. Funds may be used to provide and maintain recreational trails for motorized and non-motorized recreational trail uses, including trailside and trailhead facilities. It includes provisions to facilitate access for people with disabilities as well. For the 2023 program, Utah has 17 projects totaling $1,464,298 in federal aid funds and $3,987,129 of sponsored matching funds for a total of just a little over $5.4 million in new project value. Listed here is contact information regarding the Recreational Trails Program: Rachel Toker at the Department of Natural Resources and Tara McKee at the Governor's Office of Business Development. So exhibits for your review are some pictures, some projects, as well as this is the list. So this list has 4 motorized RTP grants that were recommended by the Outdoor or OHV Advisory Council as the outdoor, drawing a blank in my head here. 15 non-motorized RTP grants were recommended by the Utah Recreational Trails Advisory Council for a total of 19 applications received. 17 were recommended for funding. So in green, the key is the projects listed in green are recommended, and the ones in red are the non-recommended projects. I'll just scroll down through. You can see the full list of 19 projects that were submitted. The 2 at the bottom are the ones that are not recommended for funding right now. So as I said, this is just for review. This will come back in August for approval. And questions that you have? Patrick is on the line. Patrick Morrison, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, can answer that. Thank you.
Well, Patrick, introduce yourself and tell us what happened to Chris.
Oh, and just to be clear, I'm having trouble hearing all except the one unmuted mic. So any of the other commissioners are really difficult to hear.
All right, I'll relay. Introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
Oh, sure. So my name is Patrick Morrison. I'm currently a program specialist within the Utah Office of Outdoor Recreation in the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. With House Bill 305, we are merging into the Division of Natural Resource or Department of Natural Resources on July 1 to be merged with the Division of Recreation, making the Division of Outdoor Recreation. So with this grant in particular, full credit to Rachel Toker this year. She really stepped up in the absence of Chris Haller. And did an amazing job administering it. You know, I think a few things to note. Really want to credit the state's funding programs. You'll notice that out of the 1.8 million available, the initial requests came in at only 1.4 million. And I think this is just because we have such a robust, the OHV FIG program, the Fiscal Incentive Grant, as well as the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant, have been such strong funding partners that a lot of these, while they are dual applying, it's really you know, solved a lot of the state's recreation needs. So you know, with the initial request at about 1.4, we also had reached out and contacted all applicants, allowed them to increase the request. A number of those did. Ultimately, I think there was maybe 133,000 of excess that was not funded. All 4 of the motorized did get funded. That was a pretty quick and easy process. And then the non-motorized, the only 2 that did not get funded were, one just didn't have the matching funds. It seemed like the project was not quite ready. And then the other one had done nothing for their NEPA. And so there was a lot of concerns as we kind of talked it over with the advisory committee and then our you know, colleagues over at UDOT. Just the NEPA just did not seem like it was going to be able to get going in time. So. And I hope I was speaking loud enough. I hope everyone can hear me.
Thanks, Patrick. Is there any other questions? Okay. All right. And like I said, this is just for review. So this will come back in August for approval.
Cool. All right. Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye. All right. And our last item is the most exciting item in terms of my job in life is the, uh-oh. That makes this bigger. All right. Zoom. Let me make this bigger here. Sorry. Okay. All right. This will work. All right. So I come to you today, item 8E. This is the draft 2023-2028 statewide transportation improvement program released for public comment. So approval to release the 2023-2028 STIP for public comment. The draft 2023-2028 statewide transportation improvement program has been prepared and summarized to reflect guidance and suggestions resulting from region priorities and the March and April Commission workshops.
Sorry.
Oh.
Oops. Went too far. There you go.
All right, thank you. Upon approval for release, a public notice will be posted through the Utah media groups and a draft will be placed on the UDOT website. The formal comment period will begin on 25 June 2022 and extend through 30 July 2022. The draft STIP can be sorted by county and by region. A link to submit public comments will be provided by UDOT on the UDOT website, and the draft STIP will be brought back to the Commission for approval in August, along with all comments received. So the motion today will be to approve releasing the draft 2023-2028 STIP for public comment. This is last year's STIP, just for visual. So we'll put all of this. This is all the work that you guys have done through March and April. So this is the listing of projects. At the exact same time, we're coordinating with our MPO partners. We're all going out for public comment at the exact same time. And so they'll get their comments and we'll get their comments to go in to the document that comes back in August as well. So. I'm sorry, I missed it.
Does the Utah media distribution address the communication needs of the program?
It goes into legal notice of the newspaper. So we put it through the Salt Lake Tribune, through all of their, and their legal notices, as I understand, hit every small paper in the state, as well as we put on all the MPO's websites. So we're communicating, we share our information with them, they share their information with us.
Okay. One second, any other questions? Say none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item 8E is approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops, wrong one. What is the next one here?
Item number 9, the agenda is resolution on the individual.
Hey, Ken, I think that all of us have signed this, I believe. That authorized these.
I think we got a little ahead of the game on that, so the commission never voted to approve the resolution. Once the commission voted to approve it, I think there was a blank here that we signed after.
So I apologize.
That's okay.
Not a problem. You know, well, you know, we could go on, probably feel another 4 or 5 pages, get down. Nitty-gritty of everything went on, but wasn't certainly made their mark on behalf of Leo and for UDOT and for the citizens of the Utah. And so with that, I would recommend that we approve the motion as it is written, and again, tell them to thank for her here this week.
So that's the motion, I second. Enthusiastic. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
I just thought we wanted to do it so we can talk about it.
So I can make my comment and add it in.
Yeah.
Comment of appreciation. I agree, opportunity and us, really very, very communicator, and very helpful, always knowledgeable, always well prepared. Blind answers to any question.
And when the resolution comes, when you put your signature there, we're gonna have number 10, Charles Stone is already ready to go, corridor preservation.
I'll share with the commissioners while we're moving the documents around. One of the lessons I learned working with Linda is always do what Linda tells you. And it was a lesson I shared with many engineers that I think everybody appreciated. Good morning, and we did not see you last month, so I've got 2 budget sheets to just walk you through so you can get caught up on where the Marta Dillry Corridor Preservation budget stands. As of the end of March, we had a little over 51.2 million, excuse me, almost 52, 51.3 in the fund moving forward. The motor vehicle rental tax revenue is creeping back up as rental rates have increased. Wait till you see next month's number. We had total revenue of 875,000 and change. Expenses of 56,000 and change, leaving a fund balance forward of just over 52.1 million. The details we normally have are on the next page, so I'll scroll forward. So we see that number carried forward as of the end of April, where we had, for the first time that I am aware of, rental tax revenue in excess of $1 million. Strong property management, rental revenue, pretty standard management expenses. So total income of almost 1.2 million, total expenses of just over 135,000. As of the end of April, we had not closed transactions. Because of the public notice requirements, this fund sheet is a little bit out of date. On this list here, we now have 4 of the acquisitions closed. One of them as of literally minutes ago. I don't know how Diana does as much as she does, especially sitting there. She seems very calm, but apparently like a duck on the water, those feet are churning. We have another one that is at closing. So when we come see you in August, I expect that this list will be significantly smaller, and this fund balance carried forward will also pivot a little bit. Adding in all of the obligated funds, we have a fund balance of just over $31 million, and we have 2 items today, one an acquisition and one a de-obligation that would have an impact on the fund of $570,000, leaving a fund balance of just over $30.4 million. And then we have our lovely, it's not that new anymore, but our lovely graphic that you can see that rental revenue really creeping up. I know from some personal travel that it is expensive to rent a car these days. There's a lot of demand and supply is short in the car rental market. Are there any questions on the fund balance?
Nice. Revenue generating. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Thanks to Diane. She works both sides of it so well.
If there aren't any questions, we'll move into item 10A. This is a de-obligation request For the Parker family, this commission approved obligating funds of $380,000 to acquire the Parker's home on 1600 North in Orem, Commissioner Evans' neck of the woods. They got squeezed like I believe many people are in the current real estate and construction and supply constrained construction field. They were not able to move forward with their construction plans. We've been in communication with them. We've agreed we should deobligate for now. When the project is ready to move forward with acquisitions, we will work with them. It will make them eligible for some relocation expenses, which frankly, they have a special needs daughter who needs some accommodations, and that relocation process helps address some of those things. And so I think it will, although it will take a little longer, I think ultimately we'll put them in a better position. And so we would ask for your approval to deobligate the previously obligated $380,000 for this parcel.
Second. Motion on the second. Any other questions, comments?
I consider myself very fortunate to have a staff of very well-trained and skilled people who understand the rules, the law, the processes that exist, but they also take the time to understand the people side of things. It makes a big difference in outcomes, and it makes this a great job that we get to care.
Thank you, Sean. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, approved. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Item 10B is a parcel out on SR 73. We'll move to the other side of Utah County. I like to start with the graphic showing just kind of its overall location out in the Eagle Mountain area. You can see where a variety of projects are coming together to improve east-west mobility in this part of the state. We will zoom in so you can get a sense of how the project is going to impact this parcel. You can see that the frontage component of the future alignment goes right through the back of the house and cuts off most of the backyard. And then I'll show you some of the other work that we have done in this area. If I had been able to update this sheet in the last few minutes, the Zollinger parcel would now be in the light blue because it has closed. This shows a variety of the corridor preservation work we've done in the area. The parcel here is owned by Jennifer Riley. She has lived there with her children for the last 16 years. It's 1.69 acres. It is a very large home, almost 5,000 square feet, 7 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, with an attached 3-car garage. She is moving out of state to get married and would like to relocate to make that happen. She's unable to sell the home given the proposed project impacts in the open market. And the parcel has appraised for $950,000. That is, I think Commissioner Gochner asked me recently, and I shocked by the appraisals, and I said I'm not, although this one did catch me. But once you realize the size of the property and the home, it becomes a little less shocking. The advisory council has given a favorable recommendation that we move forward with the acquisition of Miss Riley's home at $950,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions from Charles on this one? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 10B is approved.
Thank you.
And thank you for your staff. These are very busy times. Please do it a little quickly with all the legal requirements.
They do not, but thank you.
Item number 11 is administrative growth review and lead elements for London development center at number.
Good morning, commissioners. I do get all the fun stuff here to talk about a rule. This is an information-only item. As you know, state statute requires the commission to review rules that the department makes, substantially amends, or repeals. And this is an existing rule that is being amended. R907-1 works in conjunction with the Utah Administrative Procedure Act. This rule governs the department's adjudicative proceedings related to certain actions taken by the department. A good example might be an eminent domain proceeding or something to that effect. So it may be the case where you have a person that, or the department may give notice of an action. It may be a person that is requesting an action, or it may be a person that's requesting review of an action. So those are the situations that this rule primarily applies to. So just to give you an idea, if you've taken a look at the rule, you'll notice that there's a lot of new language, and then at the very bottom, there's everything stricken out. Because of the number of changes, it was easier to do kind of a model where you're repealing and replacing. And so that's why you see all the new language. It really isn't all new language, especially not all new concepts. It's just rewritten in a more clear and concise way that follows the Administrative Rules Office's style guide. A lot of changes needed to be made. Most of the changes that we made are for clarity in the procedures that need to be followed. We did add a section at the very beginning which stated the authority and purpose of the rule. And the authority is just what authority did UDOT use to create that rule? So that's stated, as well as why we think we need the rule. We changed the term hearing officer and replaced it with presiding officer. We've made numerous grammatical changes. And we also added a section called procedures for informal adjudicative proceedings. Informal proceedings were already allowed, but felt like it wasn't completely clear on that process. So we added that section to make some clarifications. We also repealed the section governing emergency orders. And the reason for that is that the Utah Administrative Procedures Act already has a section that explains the emergency orders. And so it was basically just restating statute, and that's not necessary to do in our administrative rules. Finally, there were some 2022 general session changes to law that we needed, that required us to change our rule a little bit. And the key change there was that the department is now required to hire an administrative law judge to preside instead of a UDOT employee, maybe a region director or a deputy director, but having an administrative law judge preside over an adjudicative proceeding that involves a challenge to decisions related to relocation assistance that's greater than $50,000. So that's how we'll be conducting those types of adjudicated proceedings from here on out. Those are the main changes to this rule, and we appreciate any comments you have, but again, it's just an information only item. So. So the expected costs, I believe we have, I'm looking over here, maybe 1 or 2 a year. And no.
In the busiest years, it would just be
Okay.
a couple $1,000s.
Okay, a couple $1,000s in the busiest year. We just put out an RFP on that, and I believe we've finished that process. And the idea was to have a pool of folks. We only got one applicant, so but it's, yeah, it shouldn't be too expensive, a few $1,000s. So. Yeah. Okay.
Over 50,000, you said the previous procedure.
Yeah, by and large, the procedure is still the same, how the hearings are conducted and so forth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Item number 12 is informational items on the DAC commission report. So let's start with
I do not have any words at this point in time, but I'm grateful for the opportunity that I have to take a little bit of time to do some service. Appreciate the support that I received from the commissioner for the right to do that. Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity to serve refugees on the border of Ukraine and Poland. And just have to tell you, there are volunteers from all over the world who just would walk in every day to that center and volunteer their time. And we received a continuous supply of needed items. Very, very generous people walked through the door, and some sent them via shipping, and it was an amazing experience. Thank you.
No, most of the things have gone through the AOG and the plan and thing we've seen come through, so nothing new to report.
And same with our quarter preservation, appreciate wonderful support there in a very challenging time. And again, the earlier point, we do look out, we represent the taxpayers, and there's just incredible support that they can feel.
I don't have a committee report necessarily, but I did want to express appreciation for the attention paid to the emerging area process. I attended the second meeting of the 12 counties that we work in, Washington, Cedar, Garfield, our county. So it became very apparent as people gathered around those tables that there's just limited expertise. And without the UDOT staff that were there were probably 5 or 6, I don't see where it came from, there were 5 or 6 who, often this is a group of people that are volunteers, they're elected officials. I think around the Iron County people that have about 14 have more professional, the rest are all lay people, just really not even familiar with what commercial staff. And so we guided through that process with our planning, engineering professionals is very meaningful. And I just want to give also a nice day to Charlotte. We've quoted a lot of money today and every time we meet. And I know that it's a juggling, and as we, especially those Bangerter Highway meetings, I'm looking at you thinking that you're going to explode or something. But as Carlos, very carefully explained to us, it's a money management process, and I just want to give a shout out for that work, because it can't. I didn't sleep very well last night, and I can imagine the piece of that all. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. We had a Zoom meeting with the Wasatch Front Regional Council, we're seeing to work through their actively on having there. Again, I just give a shout out to the state of Utah. What we're doing and how we're doing it is remarkable. I mean, there shouldn't be any surprises anymore. Occasionally there might be because you just don't look like we should. But even this administrative review, that's one of the things that was set up that is really unique in many state governments. We don't, we pass the laws, but we don't review the rules. And the rules are what gets us in trouble. And this was set up by the legislature some years ago to review that all things. Not going where we want to. So the public has a chance to put on that. Most of the time we go through without education, but it's still a set of eyes looking on an area where consequences that were not anticipated come out as we're able to correct those. So this is a meaningful way, meaningful purpose, and we look forward to seeing it finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to echo what Commissioner Law said about the emerging areas meetings. Those have been, I've attended several of those meetings before I left, and then just one recently, but it's amazing to see the communities coming into those meetings and having a voice. And then I hear a lot of positive back out the community for those opportunities. So I'm feeling really good about being able to go to those meetings. And then it's generating conversation in their little circles, and that, so it's really engaged, like, especially in the rural areas, it's made engaged a lot of people who felt like they don't have a voice, if that makes sense. So, thank you, that's what we're going to do ever. I know I think a lot more, so thank you.
Our newly organized community type board will be July 7th. We had it in the last 2 months. We'll go back next time. But I did attend the DTAC meeting where the Dixie State University / Utah Tech University came and presented solar powered elevated broad light rail connecting communities at the side of the car. So they folks maybe come to commercial present the ideas and innovations. That's wonderful.
I think you need to report on your triathlon, but there's no.
Oh, that work amazing. And we have 41,000 volunteers again. Apply the same project. And it was most successful, they told us. The records were, several records were broken. Even in the heat of this summer of this in Georgia. But we got together and they came and we loved it. And but of course, the next time we're going to have a night and a half. Wonderful.
Good turn, that's your turn.
At this point, there's no commitment, no, but they're not going to be sending the cinema place to come back, but they have not been travel. They can plan to be stopped for the hours. The reports from Carlos and Terry and this. Hurry up and getting.
Never.
Okay, with that, thank you for presenting, thank you for your cooperation and patience with us, I promise probably.
We're off next month.
Next meeting is, August meeting is on the 12th. Oh, that. Then the final motion.
Okay, so.
Thank you all.